The Galactic Union had existed for 12,000 years. It was a group of 847 different alien species who lived together under one set of laws. They traded with each other. They shared technology. They kept peace through fear and careful agreements. Their council met on a massive station called Olvara Prime, a place made of crystal and light that floated in the empty space between three dead stars. On this day, the council had gathered to discuss humanity. Humans had only been traveling between stars for 300 years. To the ancient species of the galaxy, this was nothing. Some of them had been flying through space for millions of years. They looked at humans the way an old man might look at a baby trying to walk. They saw something small, weak, and not worth their respect. But they also saw something that worried them. Admiral Tai-Ho Beak stood behind a window on the upper level of the station. He was a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had spent 40 years in the human fleet. He had seen things that would break most people. But nothing had prepared him for what he was watching now. Below him, in the great council chamber, representatives from hundreds of species were voting. They sat in floating chairs arranged in a massive circle. Strange creatures of all shapes and sizes. Some had scales. Some had feathers. Some looked like nothing Tai-Ho had ever seen before. They were all pressing buttons on their chairs, casting their votes. The vote was about humanity's future. Lieutenant Una Park walked up beside him. She was young, barely 30, with sharp eyes and quick hands. She served as Tai-Ho's intelligence aide. It was her job to know things before anyone else did. She handed him a small device. On its screen was a message that their spies had intercepted 3 days ago. "The vote is done," she said quietly. Every single species voted yes. Tai-Ho read the message again. He already knew what it said. Humanity was to be exiled. Their colonies would be taken away. Their ships would be destroyed. Their people would be forced to live in a distant part of the galaxy called the Dead Rim, where no other species wanted to go. It was a death sentence, just spoken in polite words. "They really think we do not know," Tai-Ho said. "They think we are too stupid to break their codes," Una replied. "They have been using the same encryption for 6,000 years. Our computers solved it in 2 weeks." Tai-Ho almost smiled. Almost, the alien species had made a terrible mistake. They thought humans were primitive. They thought humans were slow. They had looked at humanity's short history and seen only a young species stumbling through the stars. What they had not understood was that humanity had spent its entire existence fighting. Humans did not have millions of years of peaceful growth. They had wars, endless wars. They fought over land, over food, over ideas, over nothing at all. Every piece of human technology had been born from the need to survive, to fight, to win. Their ships were not built for exploration. They were built for battle. Their soldiers were not ceremonial guards. They were killers trained from birth. And most importantly, humans did not wait for their enemies to attack first. Far away, in the darkness between stars, Commander Doan Kong sat in the control room of his ship, the Silent Hammer. It was a stealth frigate, painted black and covered in materials that absorbed sensor signals. To any alien scanner, it looked like empty space. Gao-Hon was a quiet man with a calm face. He never raised his voice. He never showed emotion. But inside, his heart was beating fast. He had 17 ships under his command, and they were all hidden in orbit above one of the most important alien worlds in the galaxy. Similar fleets waited above 16 other worlds. Dohan checked the time. 12 hours until the Galactic Union would publicly announce humanity's exile. 12 hours until the aliens expected humans to learn their fate and react with shock and confusion. Humanity would not wait 12 hours. On Olvara Prime, Ambassador Minji Han was getting ready. She was a small woman with a gentle face, the kind of person who looked like she could not hurt anyone. This was useful. The aliens always underestimated her. They thought she was weak because she smiled and spoke softly. They did not know that before she became an ambassador, she had commanded a warship. They did not know that she had killed more enemies than most soldiers ever would. They did not know that her soft voice and kind eyes were weapons, just like guns and missiles. She looked at herself in the mirror and adjusted her uniform. In a few hours, she would walk into the council chamber. She would stand before the species that had decided to destroy her people, and she would deliver a message they would never forget. Back at the window, Tai-Ho turned away from the council chamber below. He had seen enough. The aliens were celebrating. They thought they had won. They thought they had solved their human problem without firing a single shot. "Send the signal," he said to Yuna. She nodded and pressed a button on her communicator dot across the galaxy. Human officers received a single coded message. It was only 3 words long, but those words would change everything. Operation First Light. Tai-Ho walked toward the door. His steps were slow and steady. There was no rush now. Everything was already in motion. The pieces had been placed long ago. Now they just had to fall. "Sir," Yuna said, following him, "do you think they will understand? After it is over, I mean, do you think they will understand why we did this?" Tai-Ho stopped at the door. He thought about the question for a long moment. "No," he finally said. "They have never known real war. They have never faced extinction. They think conflict is a game with rules and honor. They will not understand why we struck first. They will call us monsters and savages." He opened the door and stepped through. "But they will learn. And after they learn, they will never threaten us again." The door closed behind him. In the council chamber below, the aliens continued their celebration. They laughed and congratulated each other. They talked about how they had protected the galaxy from the dangerous humans. They had no idea that in just a few hours, their entire universe would burn. And by the time they realized what was happening, it would already be too late. The galaxy had rules about war. These rules had existed for thousands of years. If one species wanted to fight another, they had to announce it first. They had to explain their reasons. They had to give the other side time to prepare. Then, and only then, could they begin fighting. This made sense to the aliens. War was serious business. It deserved respect and ceremony. Only barbarians attacked without warning. Humans were barbarians. At exactly 0300 Galactic Standard Time. While most of the galaxy was sleeping or celebrating humanity's exile, the attacks began. There was no warning. There was no announcement. There was no ceremony at all. Captain Siralim led the first assault. Her target was a massive shipyard belonging to the Varosi Federation. The Varosi were tall creatures with blue skin and 4 arms. They had some of the most powerful warships in the galaxy. Their shipyard built hundreds of new vessels every year. Sarah's squadron appeared out of nowhere. One moment, the space around the shipyard was empty. The next moment, 12 human ships were there, already firing. The Varosi did not even have time to be confused. Their defense platforms exploded before they could charge their weapons. Their communication arrays were destroyed before they could send a single message. Their shields failed before they could activate. 43 seconds. That was all it took. Sira's co-pilot, Hyen Cho, stared at his screens in disbelief. He had expected a battle. He had expected the enemy to fight back. Instead, he watched as the entire shipyard went dark. "They are not scrambling fighters," he reported. "They are not doing anything." Sira understood why. They do not know how to react. They have never seen this before. To them, war has always been slow and planned. They do not know what to do when it is fast and sudden. Across the galaxy, similar scenes were happening at the same time. Commander Dohon Kong brought his fleet out of hiding above the Mentari. Homeworld. The Mentari were insect-like creatures who controlled a large portion of galactic trade. Their orbital defense network was supposed to be impossible to break. Du Hun broke it in 2 minutes. His ships did not even fire normal weapons. They released clouds of tiny machines, smaller than dust. These machines crawled into the Mentari systems and shut everything down. Power stations failed. Computers crashed. Weapons turned off. The entire planet was suddenly blind and helpless. Doan watched from his command chair. His face showed no emotion. He had planned this attack for 3 years. He had studied every piece of Mentari technology. He had found every weakness and built weapons to exploit them. The Mentari had never imagined that anyone would spend 3 years planning to destroy them. They thought war was something that happened quickly, with lots of talking beforehand. They did not understand that humans planned for war the way they planned for everything else, carefully, quietly, and completely. On the station Olvara Prime, chaos erupted. Screens in the council chamber suddenly lit up with emergency reports. Shipyards destroyed. Defense platforms offline. Communication networks silent. Fleet staging areas, surrounded by enemy vessels that had appeared from empty space. The alien representatives screamed and shouted. They demanded explanations. They called for their guards. They tried to contact their homeworlds. Nothing worked. Human hackers had already infected their systems. Every message they sent went nowhere. Ambassador Minji Han chose this moment to walk into the chamber. She moved slowly, calmly, her footsteps echoing in the sudden silence. Every alien eye turned to look at her. She was just one small human woman, but in that moment, she seemed larger than all of them. "You are going to exile us," Minji said. Her voice was soft, but it carried through the entire room. "You voted to take our homes, destroy our ships, and send our people to die in the dead rim, all because you were afraid of us." The alien representatives stared at her. Some of them trembled. Some of them tried to hide behind their chairs. None of them spoke. Minji smiled. It was not a warm smile. You should have been faster. She pulled out a small device and pressed a button. The main screen in the chamber changed. It now showed a map of the galaxy with hundreds of red dots. Each dot was a human attack. Each dot was another alien target that had been destroyed or captured. "In the last hour, we have disabled 37% of your combined military power," Minji said. "Your shipyards are gone. Your defense networks are dark. Your fleets are trapped or destroyed. And we are just getting started." One of the alien representatives finally found his voice. He was a Torvan, a creature made of living rock who had lived for 10,000 years. His species was one of the oldest in the galaxy. "This is impossible," he said. "You cannot do this. There are rules. There are procedures. You cannot just attack without warning." Minji looked at him. For a moment, her soft mask slipped, and something cold appeared in her eyes. "Your rules," she said quietly. "Not ours." She turned and walked toward the exit. Before she reached the door, she stopped and looked back at the frozen council. "We know everything. We have known for months. Every secret meeting, every whispered plan, every vote against us. We gave you a chance to change your minds. You did not take it. Now you will see what happens when you threaten humanity." She opened the door and stepped through. "Wait for our terms, and pray that we are feeling generous." The door closed behind her. For a long moment, no one in the council chamber moved. They just stared at the screens, showing the destruction of everything they had built. They had thought they were the most powerful beings in the galaxy, They had thought humans were nothing but annoying pests to be removed. They had been wrong. Outside the chamber, Minji walked quickly to a waiting shuttle. Her hands were shaking now that no one could see them. She had just declared war on the entire galaxy. She had just made enemies of 847 species, but she had also done something else. She had shown them the truth about humanity. She had shown them that humans were not prey to be hunted. Humans were predators, and the hunt had just begun, deep beneath the surface of Earth, in a bunker that had survived 3 world wars. The leaders of humanity gathered to plan their next move. President Jun-Oh sat at the head of a long metal table. She was a woman in her 60s, with white hair and eyes that had seen too much suffering. Before becoming president, she had been a soldier. Before that, she had been a refugee, running from a war that killed her entire family. She understood what it meant to fight for survival. Around her sat the most important people in human civilization: admirals, generals, scientists, and spies. They had all been preparing for this moment for years. Now that it had arrived, they felt a strange mixture of fear and excitement. Intelligence Director Sun Woo Yeo stood before a massive screen. He was a thin man who rarely smiled. His job was to know the enemy better than they knew themselves. He had spent his whole career studying the alien species of the Galactic Union. What he had learned was both comforting and terrifying. "Let me explain why we can win this war," Sun Woo began. He pressed a button, and the screen filled with images of alien planets. Beautiful worlds full of life and color. The species of the Galactic Union evolved on planets like these. Peaceful worlds with plenty of food and water. Worlds where survival was easy. He changed the image. Now the screen showed Earth. Not the Earth of today, but Earth millions of years ago. A violent planet covered in volcanoes, earthquakes, and storms. A planet where death waited around every corner. Humans evolved on a world that was trying to kill them every single day. Our ancestors survived ice ages, meteor strikes, supervolcanoes, and plagues. Every generation faced extinction. Every generation had to fight to survive. President June nodded slowly. She had heard this before, but it was important for everyone to understand. "This is why we are different," Sun Woo continued. "The aliens developed technology slowly, over millions of years. They had time to be careful and peaceful. They discovered fire and waited 1,000 years before discovering the wheel. They built spaceships after billions of years of gentle progress." He paused for effect. Humans did not have that luxury. We were always in danger. We always needed better weapons, better tools, better ways to kill our enemies. We went from stone tools to nuclear weapons in less than 10,000 years. We went from our first airplane to landing on the moon in 66 years. We are not just fast learners. We are desperate learners. Every piece of human technology was born from fear and violence. Admiral Taiho Beek spoke up from his seat. "What about their numbers? They have thousands of times more ships than we do. Thousands of times more soldiers." Sun Woo smiled for the first time. It was not a pleasant smile. "Yes, they have numbers. But let me tell you about their military experience." He changed the screen again. This time it showed records of alien conflicts. In the last 6,000 years, the Galactic Union has fought exactly 47 wars. Most of these were small border disputes that lasted a few months. The total death count from all 47 wars combined is less than 2 million. He let that number sink in. In the 20th century alone, humans killed over 100 million of our own kind in wars. We fought 2 global conflicts that nearly destroyed our civilization. We built weapons that could end all life on our planet. We practiced killing each other constantly, without rest, for thousands of years. General Boyang Kong, the head of ground forces, leaned forward. "So what you are saying is that they do not know how to fight?" "Not really." "Exactly," Sun Wu said. "Their wars are ceremonial. They line up their fleets in neat formations. They announce their attacks days in advance. They follow rules of honor that make no tactical sense. They have never fought an enemy who does not play by their rules." President Jun stood up. "And we do not play by their rules." "We never have," Sun Wu confirmed. "Humans understand total war. We understand surprise attacks, guerrilla tactics, psychological warfare, and weapons of mass destruction. We understand that in real war, there are no rules except victory." The room was quiet for a moment. Everyone was thinking about what this meant. Lieutenant Yuna Park, who had accompanied Admiral Tayo from Olvara Prime, raised her hand. "Director, what about after? If we win, what do we do? We cannot occupy 847 different species. We do not have enough people." Sun Wu nodded. This was the question he had been waiting for. We do not need to occupy them. We just need to break them. He changed the screen one more time. Now it showed the alien coalition's command structure, a complex web of alliances, treaties, and agreements. The Galactic Union only works because everyone believes in it. They believe that the rules protect them. They believe that no one would dare to challenge the system. He pointed at the web of connections. We are going to show them that the system is weak. We are going to hit them so hard, so fast, that their faith in the Union will shatter. When that happens, they will not band together against us. They will turn on each other. Every species will try to save themselves. Every alliance will break. And when the dust settles, we will be the only ones left standing." President Jun walked to the window and looked out at the underground city around her. Millions of humans lived down here, hiding from a galaxy that wanted them dead. Men, women, children. Families who just wanted to live in peace. "We did not want this war," she said quietly. "We came to the stars hoping to find friends. Instead, we found enemies who saw us as nothing more than a problem to be solved. They want to take everything from us. Our homes, our ships, our future." She turned to face the room. "We will not let them. We will fight with everything we have. We will show the galaxy what humans are really capable of. And when it is over, they will never dare to threaten us again." She sat back down and looked at her commanders. "Now, let us plan the next phase." Around the table, humans began to discuss how they would break an empire that had stood for 12,000 years. None of them doubted that they could do it. They were human. Doubt was not in their nature. 3 weeks after the first attacks, the Galactic Union finally assembled its response. It took them that long just to organize. They had to hold meetings. They had to vote. They had to negotiate who would lead the fleet. They had to argue about tactics and honor and 1,000 other things that did not matter. Humans used those 3 weeks very differently. The alien armada gathered near the Keller Nebula, a massive cloud of gas and dust where sensors did not work very well. They chose this place because they thought it would protect them from human tricks. They were wrong about this, but they did not know it yet that 40-2000 warships arrived at the meeting point. Ships from 300 different species. The largest fleet ever assembled in galactic history. Some of the vessels were bigger than cities. Some carried weapons that could destroy entire moons. Together, they represented the combined might of a civilization that had ruled the stars for 12,000 years. Against this force, humanity sent 1,100 ships. The alien commanders laughed when they saw the human fleet. This was not a real battle. This was going to be an execution. They outnumbered the humans almost 40-1. Their ships were bigger, their weapons stronger, their armor thicker. Admiral Tayo Beak looked at the enemy fleet through his viewing screen. His face showed nothing. Beside him, Tactical Officer Narration was checking her instruments one last time. "They are broadcasting a message," Nara reported. "They want us to surrender. They say they will be merciful if we give up now." Tayo did not respond to the message. He just watched the enemy ships arranging themselves into neat formations. Lines of warships facing lines of warships. The way wars were supposed to be fought, according to galactic tradition. Humans did not care about tradition. "Are all the preparations complete?" Taiho asked quietly. Nara nodded. "Everything is ready. The nebula is seeded. The systems are armed. We just need to give the order." For 3 weeks, while the aliens were having meetings and voting, human ships had been busy. They had hidden thousands of weapons platforms throughout the nebula. They had placed gravity mines in patterns that looked random, but were actually carefully calculated. They had filled space with sensor ghosts and false signals. They had turned the entire nebula into a trap. The alien commanders did not know any of this. Their sensors could not see through the gas clouds. They just saw 1,100 small human ships that looked scared and weak. "Send our response," Tayo said. The response was simple. A single word transmitted on all frequencies. No. The alien fleet began to move forward. They came in their perfect formations, flags flying, weapons charging. They broadcast music and chants from their homeworlds. They made speeches about honor and justice and the glory of their ancient civilizations. The human fleet did not move. It just waited. When the aliens entered the nebula, the trap activated. The first explosions came from below. Gravity mines detonated in sequence, creating waves of force that pushed ships into each other. Vessels that had survived thousands of years of service crashed together like toys. Their shields meant nothing against the power of twisted space. Then the weapons platforms woke up. Thousands of small devices hidden in the gas clouds began firing. They were not powerful individually, but there were so many of them. They hit engines and sensors and communication arrays. They did not try to destroy ships. They tried to blind them and cripple them. Panic spread through the alien fleet. Commanders screamed orders that no one could hear. Ships tried to break formation and flee, but they had nowhere to go. The nebula was full of mines and weapons. Every direction led to more death. And then the human fleet attacked. Taho's ships moved through the chaos, like wolves through a herd of sheep. They knew exactly where the mines were. They knew exactly where the weapons platforms would fire. They had mapped every inch of this space. While the aliens stumbled blindly through the darkness, the humans moved with perfect precision. Captain Sarah Lim led her squadron through the heart of the enemy fleet. Her ships were small and fast, nothing compared to the massive alien dreadnoughts around her. But the dreadnoughts were already damaged, already confused, already dying. "Target their flagships," Sarah ordered. "Take out their commanders first." The alien admirals had put themselves at the center of their formations. It was traditional. It was honorable. It was also incredibly stupid. Sarah's squadron destroyed 17 command ships in less than 10 minutes. After that, the alien fleet had no leaders. It was just a collection of panicking crews trying to survive. The battle, if it could be called that, lasted 4 hours. By the end, the nebula was filled with wreckage. Broken ships drifted through clouds of gas, now mixed with debris and bodies. The greatest fleet in galactic history had been reduced to scrap metal, but the humans did something unexpected. When alien crews abandoned their dying ships, human vessels moved in to rescue them. Escape pods were collected instead of destroyed. Wounded survivors were brought aboard human ships for medical treatment. The aliens could not understand this. Why would humans save their enemies? Why would they show mercy after fighting so brutally? Admiral Tayo stood in the medical bay of his flagship, watching human doctors treat injured aliens. A young Mentari soldier looked up at him with compound eyes full of confusion. Why? The Mentari asked. Why do you save us? We were going to destroy you. Tai-Ho looked at the young creature for a long moment before answering. Because we are not monsters, he said. We fight to survive, not to destroy. We kill when we have to, not when we want to. You tried to take everything from us. We could take everything from you in return. But that is not who we are. He turned and walked away, leaving the confused alien behind. The galaxy had seen human violence. Now it was time for them to see human mercy. Both were equally terrifying in their own way. News of the battle spread quickly. The greatest fleet in history, destroyed by a force 40 times smaller. The galaxy learned a new word that day. Humans. It was a word they would never forget. 1 month after the Battle of Keller Nebula, the Galactic Council met again on Olvara Prime. But this time, everything was different. The chamber that had once held 847 confident species now held 847 terrified ones. Their fleets were gone. Their defenses were broken. Their pride was shattered. They sat in their floating chairs and waited for the humans to arrive. Not knowing what would happen next, Admiral Tai-O Beak walked into the chamber first. He wore his dress uniform, decorated with medals from 100 battles. Behind him came his officers. Lieutenant Yuna Park, Commander Do-hun Kong, Captain Sira Lim, Ambassador Minji Han, and dozens more. The humans who had brought an empire to its knees. The aliens watched them in silence. Some trembled. Some could not meet their eyes. Some looked like they wanted to run, but had nowhere to go. Tai-Ho walked to the center of the chamber and stopped. He looked around at the gathered species. These were the beings who had voted to destroy his people. These were the leaders who had called humans primitive and dangerous. These were the ones who had tried to send humanity to die in the dead rim. He let the silence stretch until it became uncomfortable. Then he spoke. You feared us, Tai-O said. His voice was calm, almost gentle. You looked at humanity and saw something that scared you. A young species that grew too fast. A violent species that did not follow your rules. A dangerous species that might one day threaten your power. The aliens stared at him. None of them spoke. You were right to be afraid, Tai-O continued. We are everything you feared and more. We are violent. We are unpredictable. We do not follow rules that make no sense to us. We have spent our entire existence fighting to survive, and we have become very good at it. He paused and looked at each species in turn. The ancient Torvan who had lived for 10,000 years. The proud Varosi with their blue skin and 4 arms. The insect-like Mentari who had controlled galactic trade. All of them reduced to silence by one human standing in their chamber. You plan to exile us, Tai-O said. To take our colonies, destroy our ships, and send our people to die in the darkest corner of the galaxy. You thought we would accept this. You thought we would go quietly. You were wrong. He gestured to the screens around the chamber. They showed images of the destruction human forces had caused. Shipyards in ruins. Defense networks offline. The wreckage of the greatest fleet in history, drifting through the Keller Nebula. We could finish what we started, Tai-O said. We could burn every homeworld. We could shatter every remaining fleet. We could reduce the Galactic Union to ashes in memory. Our weapons are ready. Our soldiers are willing. All I have to do is give the order. Fear rippled through the chamber. Some aliens began to cry. Others closed their eyes and prepared for death. They had no way to stop the humans. They had no weapons left, no ships, no hope. But Tai-O did not give the order. Instead, he smiled. It was a small smile, tired but real. But that is not who we choose to be. The fear in the chamber slowly changed to confusion. The aliens looked at each other, not understanding what was happening. Ambassador Minji-Han stepped forward. Her voice was soft but clear. "We did not come to the stars looking for enemies," she said. "We came looking for friends. We dreamed of joining a community of species, of sharing knowledge and culture and hope. You could have welcomed us. Instead, you tried to destroy us." She walked among the alien representatives, looking at each of them. "We have shown you what happens when you threaten humanity. We have proven that we cannot be bullied or controlled or exiled. Now we offer you something else. A choice." She stopped at the center of the chamber, standing beside Taiho. "You can accept humanity as partners, equals, friends who will stand beside you and protect you the way we protect ourselves. Or you can continue to see us as enemies." Her eyes hardened. "But we have already shown you what happens when you choose the second option. And next time, we will not be merciful." The chamber was silent for a long moment. Then, slowly, the Torvan representative rose from his chair. He was the oldest being in the room, a creature who had watched civilizations rise and fall like seasons. "You could destroy us," he said slowly. "But you choose not to. Why?" Taiho answered him directly. "Because destroying you would not make us safer. It would just make us alone. We want to live in a galaxy where our children can grow up without fear, where our ships can travel freely, where humanity has a place among the stars." He looked around the chamber one more time. "We want what everyone wants: peace, safety, a future. We are willing to fight for these things. We have proven that. But we would rather earn them through friendship than through war." The vote that followed was unanimous. But this time, it was a very different vote than the one held a month ago. The Second Galactic Union was born that day. A new alliance built on respect instead of fear. An alliance where strength was admired instead of punished. An alliance where humanity stood as equals with species that had traveled the stars for millions of years. In the years that followed, the galaxy changed in ways no one had expected. Human soldiers protected weak species from those who would bully them. Human doctors cured diseases that had plagued alien worlds for centuries. Human engineers built things that the ancient species had never imagined. And when new threats appeared from beyond the edges of known space, it was humanity that led the defense. Not because they had to, but because it was the right thing to do. Admiral Taiho Beak retired to a small house on a colony world, where he spent his days reading and watching the stars. Sometimes visitors would come to ask him about the war. They wanted to know how humanity had defeated an empire of 847 species. He always gave them the same answer. "They thought they could exile us," he would say. "They forgot one simple truth. You cannot exile a species that refuses to leave. You cannot defeat a people who will never give up. You cannot destroy those who have already survived everything the universe could throw at them." He would smile then, looking up at the endless sky. "We are human. We do not go quietly into the night." And now the galaxy knows it. The stars twinkled above him. And somewhere out there, ships bearing the human flag flew through the darkness, not as conquerors, not as exiles, but as guardians of a galaxy that had finally learned to respect them.